Well, hello, sinners. How are ya? On today's installment of the Letterboard of Truth, our quote of the day is, Doctor, I hardly, you get the rest. Someone commented on my last video, I feel like I need a rolled up newspaper to hit influencers with in response to the James Charles situation. I think this sentiment could also apply to today's story. Meet Catherine Roxanne Graway, formerly known as Dr. Roxy on social media and Dr. Graway in real life. I'm just going to refer to her as Dr. Roxy going forward because that's the name most people know her by. Dr. Roxy finished medical school and became a board-certified plastic surgeon in 2010. She ran her own private practice, Roxy Plastic Surgery, in Powell, Ohio until late last year. According to Dr. Roxy, she's performed over 3,600 surgeries since 2010, including 50 to 100 breast augmentations a month and thousands of BBLs a year. But tons of people flocked to Dr. Roxy's practice to get mommy makeovers, which typically entailed a breast augmentation, tummy tuck, liposuction, and other cosmetic procedures to help moms get back to their pre-pregnancy bodies. Dr. Roxy did not invent mommy makeovers by any means. It's a pretty common medical procedure in the world of plastic surgery, but she was considered a reputable doctor in this area. Dr. Roxy gained even more clientele when she started posting on Snapchat and Instagram and eventually TikTok, amassing hundreds of thousands of followers across all sites. She has since privated all her pages, including her website, so I scraped together as much footage as I could find from TikTok duets, news articles, and other YouTube videos. On Instagram, Dr. Roxy used to post transformation photos of her patients under hashtag #BodyByRoxy, and this practice is actually called medutainment. I understand that doctors, especially plastic surgeons, do this on social media in order to advertise their services and gain new patients. However, the ethics behind it has been heavily debated by the medical community, and rightfully so. But I also think that this promotional tactic can be taken too far. That last sentence is what we call foreshadowing. Meanwhile, Dr. Roxy's TikTok account had a very different vibe.
She's really good.
Look, I'm not saying doctors can't let loose every now and then, but imagine laying there, knocked out, cut open on the operating table like a Thanksgiving turkey, and your surgeon's in the corner like, yada 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 yada. This is the 2023 version of that one kid who filmed a Musical.ly while his grandfather was dying in the hospital. I kid. Thankfully, Dr. Roxy never broke out into song and dance mid-operation. Instead, she live streamed her surgeries. Remember when I said that posting your patients online can be taken too far? Yeah, this is what I was referring to.
She live streamed plastic surgery on TikTok, gaining a huge following.
That shape that you want, and if you're a little bit happy, you boom right when I'm doing it, and there are some really important structures in your neck, like your blood vessels and your airway.
Thanks for the roast, Sydney. Oh, hey, we got a Lucy the Lock.
Ice cream's so good.
Yep, you heard that right. Dr. Roxy live streamed several operations on TikTok and Snapchat for years, allegedly with the consent of these patients. Based on the clips I saw, it seemed like Dr. Roxy's focus was on entertaining her audience and answering fan questions instead of,
The patient she was operating on?
This is why I'm so glad that not just anybody can become a doctor. And even so, you still have fame-hungry people like Dr. Roxy who slip through the cracks and act in such a careless and unprofessional manner. Like, this is something straight out of a Black Mirror episode. But for some reason, if you didn't think this would backfire, you'd be wrong. You'd You'd be oh so wrong. As of late 2022, Dr. Roxy is being sued by 3 former patients who suffered severe complications after having their surgeries live streamed. After her BBL in December 2020, an unnamed patient experienced severe abdominal pain to the point where she had to go in for several stomach surgeries. Another unnamed patient came in for a follow-up procedure and liposuction in March 2022. Unfortunately, she was hospitalized several days later for a perforated intestine, which is when a hole forms in the bowel wall. This person had to receive emergency surgery to remove a portion of her colon. If untreated, this could lead to bacterial infections and even sepsis. But the damage could not be undone. This patient also lost some brain function due to the amount of toxins in her blood. Finally, 1 year before that, Dr. Roxy performed a mommy makeover on Amber Runyon. According to Amber, her post-op drains were not working properly. Allegedly, a nurse practitioner on Dr. Roxy's team advised Amber to not seek medical attention. Because of Dr. Roxy's and her team's negligence, not only did Amber get an infection, but she was also forced to have her breast implants removed. Amber missed 2 months of work due to the complications, and as of December 2022, she still can't stand properly. More former patients of Dr. Roxy started to come forward as well.
They're gonna keep me again. I have lost track on how many IV antibiotics that I've been given. But I have definite infection. I know one is a staph infection, and there's another one, I'm not too sure what it's called, but I'm supposed to see an infectious disease doctor today. Just trying to get through this. I'm probably gonna lose my job over this, so don't know what I'm gonna do. But it is what it is, and I will get through this.
Only the former 3 patients are being represented in the lawsuit by James Arnold, an attorney based in Ohio.
How many women is your law firm representing currently?
Presently 3. Many of the people who have contacted us are beyond the statute of limitations. Many of them had complications that may just be complications and not necessarily the product of substandard medical practice. But many of them have already missed the 1 year period during which, if they did have a malpractice claim, it could have been brought.
Before we continue, let me add that I know surgical complications are inevitable, especially if you've been in the field as long as Dr. Roxy. But what we're witnessing is a pattern of behavior, allegedly. Or as they say in the biz, medical malpractice, because this is not Dr. Roxy's first time getting sued. Let me tell you the story of Mary Jenkins. Mary was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2006. Following her diagnosis, Mary founded a nonprofit called Christians Overcoming Cancer, now known as the Cancer Option Collaborative, which works to help cancer patients pay their day-to-day expenses while in treatment. Mary had her right breast removed that same year, but she didn't go for reconstructive surgery until 2012. With Dr. Roxy. The plan was to take a flap from Mary's abdomen and construct it into a right breast. 48 hours later, the flap became congested with blood and died, so Dr. Roxy had to remove it. Jenkins was left with a gaping hole in her chest that required extensive wound therapy. She spent 4 months in a nursing facility while the wound healed. Mary filed a lawsuit in 2014 and said that Dr. Roxy's attempts to address the complications were professionally negligent and fell well below accepted standards of medical care. 6 of 8 jurors found Dr. Roxy negligent, and Mary was awarded $58,600 for medical expenses and $300,000 for non-economic damages. Get that bag, Mary. Unfortunately, Mary was diagnosed with breast cancer again in 2017 and had to undergo a second mastectomy. But thankfully, she's now cancer-free. I'll leave a link to the Cancer Option Collaborative down below if you'd like to learn more about their cause. Going back to present day, James Arnold presented all 3 cases to the Ohio Medical Board. And on November 18th, 2022, with a 7-0 vote, Dr. Roxy's medical license was suspended suspended. Roxy Plastic Surgery was officially shut down and 20 employees were laid off. However, the day before this, on November 17th, Dr. Roxy failed to inform her patients that her license had been suspended. One patient, Julie Hager, had leaking, achy fluid coming out of her breast post-surgery and was only told about Dr. Roxy's suspension as she was leaving the hospital. Apparently, she broke down crying at the news. But this wasn't Dr. Roxy's first encounter with the Ohio Medical Board. She'd been receiving warnings from the Ohio Medical Board for 5 years about privacy breaches on social media. In a letter dated October 9th, 2018, the secretary of the board cautioned you regarding the need to maintain patient privacy when sharing photos or videos via social media. You responded in a letter dated November 11th, 2018, that you had remediated these concerns by instituting an updated patient consent form. In a letter dated September 28th, 2021, the secretary of the board cautioned you a second time. The letter articulated multifaceted issues with your care of these patients, including concerns regarding lack of informed consent, ethical concerns related to privacy in social media, and avoidable complications that required surgical revision. No matter how much Dr. Roxy begged and pleaded, the Ohio Medical Board made its decision. And 7 months later, on July 12th, 2023, her medical license was permanently revoked and she was fined $4,500. In my opinion, she was let off pretty easy.
But her lack of professionalism and poor judgment in delegating responsibilities to others appears to have significantly contributed to her falling below the standards of care.
In an attempt to sway the board, Dr. Roxy said, "Nobody wants a complication, and we never want things to go poorly, but any complications that happened with me were not because I was not paying attention. I mean, you were looking directly into the camera mid-operation, but all right. My whole goal in life is to give these people confidence and make them feel more beautiful. And unfortunately, they suffered these complications, and I feel very sad for them. I would never want anything bad to happen to them." To me, this is very telling of Dr. Roxy's character. She cares more about getting caught than the lifelong complications she inflicted onto her former patients due to her recklessness. The entitlement is crazy. In asking for leniency, Graway told the board, "I ask you from the bottom of my heart to please consider my thoughts with an open mind. This has humbled me more than you can know. I am willing to change my social media practices." So, no apology to everyone you've hurt, no accountability whatsoever. Maybe it's a good thing you'll never step into an operating room ever again. Mary Jenkins was one of many former patients who attended Dr. Roxy's hearing, and she wanted to be the first person Dr. Roxy saw when she stepped out of the courtroom.
Former patient Mary Jenkins won a civil case against the former doctor. She says the license revocation is in a sense closure, but adds the damage she and so many other women live with will never go away.
It'll never go away because every time we look down and we see a scar, we're going to remember.
Although the physical scars won't go away for Mary or any of Dr. Roxy's victims, I hope they know that their strength and resilience hasn't gone unnoticed. And I wish them all nothing but a lifetime of peace and happiness. But imagine working half your life to get a medical degree and build this prestigious career, all to just throw it away for some stupid internet fame. This is a classic example of how not everything needs to be on social media, especially when you have people's lives in your hands. Exploiting your patients' most vulnerable moments for likes and attention is a new low, and you literally could have killed a few of them. In the meantime, I guess Dr. Roxy will be picking up shifts at Waffle House with Lana Del Rey. But as of this moment in time, that is all the updated information I have. If you'd like me to cover any more current news stories or internet controversies, please let me know down below. And in general, if you'd like me to talk about anything in particular going forward, I have a Google form linked in the description where you could submit your video ideas. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a tiny thumbs up and subscribe down below. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye!